Have you ever tried going silent on a woman, hoping she would finally notice you, text you first, or even chase you, only to be met with nothing? No messages, no calls, no signs of interest at all. It's frustrating, right? You might be thinking, I did everything right, I gave her space, I went quiet. Why isn't she reacting? Well, you're not alone. Many men fall into the trap of thinking that silence is some kind of secret weapon, a magical tool that will automatically make a woman chase you. But here's the hard truth. Silence alone doesn't create attraction. You see, there's a huge difference between being mysterious and being invisible. Mystery makes her curious, makes her want to know more about you. Being invisible just makes her forget you exist. And the reason most men fail with silence is simple. They use it blindly, without understanding why it works, when it works, or how it works. They think, I'll ignore her, and she'll chase me. But attraction is never that mechanical. Think about it. If she barely knows you, if there's no real emotional connection yet, going silent is unlikely to make her care. Silence works only when there's already some level of investment, interest, or curiosity. Without it, your absence won't trigger longing. It will trigger indifference. And here's the kicker. Timing matters more than most men realize. Going silent too early in a relationship can backfire completely. She might not notice, or worse, she may assume you simply aren't interested and move on before you even get a chance. Another reason silence often fails is that it's misused. Many men overuse it, treating it like a magic trick instead of a strategic tool. They go quiet for days, weeks, even months, hoping something will happen, and when nothing does, they panic, break their silence, act clingy, or send mixed signals. This kind of inconsistency destroys any potential effect. Instead of creating attraction, it creates confusion or even frustration for her. And let's not forget about the underlying mindset. Silence only works if it comes from confidence and self-assurance, not insecurity or manipulation. If you're going quiet because you're upset, desperate, or trying to punish her, it's obvious she can sense it. And trust me, no woman chases a man who seems needy or reactive. The real power of silence lies in control, composure, and emotional intelligence. In this video, we're going to break down the 10 real reasons your silence isn't working on her. We'll look at timing, mindset, emotional connection, consistency, and the subtle mistakes most men make. By the end, you'll understand why simply ignoring her isn't enough, and what you need to do to actually make her notice, care, and even miss you. If you've ever felt frustrated that your silence doesn't seem to work, this is the video for you. Stay tuned, because after this, you'll never look at going quiet the same way again. Asterisk, the first and most critical reason your silence isn't working on her is simple. You're going silent without a purpose. Many men think that simply ignoring her, not replying to messages, or taking a few days off from communication is a magic formula that will make her chase them. They believe that absence alone equals attraction. But here's the hard truth. Silence without intention often looks like disinterest, not mystery. Think about it from her perspective. If she's used to interacting with you regularly, whether it's texting, calling, or spending time together, and suddenly you disappear without explanation, what does she feel? Most likely, confusion or indifference. She may ask herself, did he lose interest? Is he mad at me? Or is he just busy? Without a clear context or purpose behind your silence, she has no reason to feel drawn toward you. She doesn't feel curiosity, longing, or desire. She simply notices your absence and moves on mentally. The key difference between effective silence and ineffective silence lies in intention. Effective silence is strategic and purposeful. For instance, it's used to create a sense of curiosity, to give her space to feel your absence, or to demonstrate emotional control and independence. Ineffective silence, on the other hand, is reactive. Many men go quiet because they feel hurt, rejected, or frustrated, thinking that ignoring her will somehow teach her a lesson or make her chase them. But when silence comes from a place of frustration rather than strategy, it's transparent. Women can sense insecurity or passive aggression, and that's not attractive, it's off-putting. Another common mistake is using silence as a test. Some men think, if I ignore her for a few days, she finally texts me first. But tests rarely work if there hasn't been enough emotional connection or attraction established beforehand. Testing creates pressure and awkwardness instead of intrigue. The more you treat silence as a challenge for her, the more likely she'll see it as a manipulation tactic rather than a sign of value. So how do you use silence effectively? First, know your purpose. Are you going silent to give her space so she notices your value? Are you demonstrating that you are emotionally stable and not dependent on her attention? Or are you simply reacting to hurt feelings? Second, make sure your silence is part of a bigger strategy, such as improving your lifestyle, showing independence, and building genuine confidence. Silence works best when it enhances your natural attractiveness rather than compensates for insecurity. The bottom line: silence without purpose is like a tool without a handle. It won't give you results, no matter how long you try. When used strategically, however, it becomes a powerful way to create intrigue, make her appreciate your presence, and subtly remind her of your value. Understanding the difference between purposeful and aimless silence is the first step toward mastering attraction. One of the main reasons your silence isn't working is simple, but often overlooked. She doesn't care enough yet. Silence only works when there's already some emotional investment or curiosity on her side. If she isn't genuinely interested, ignoring her won't suddenly make her chase you. It will just make you look distant or disinterested. And this is where most men go wrong. They assume that going quiet is a universal tool that automatically triggers desire. Unfortunately, that's not how human psychology works. Think about it like this. Attraction is a two-way street. If a woman has already invested emotionally, whether through time, attention, or affection, she will naturally notice your absence. She'll feel your value, your presence, and may even experience a sense of longing. But if her interest is shallow or non-existent, your absence doesn't create longing. It simply confirms what she already thinks. He's not that into me, so why should I care? Silence in this scenario does nothing but reinforce her detachment. Another important factor is context. Women respond to absence when there is already a spark of curiosity or attraction. This could be built through meaningful conversations, shared experiences, or playful flirting. If she hasn't had the chance to feel a real connection with you, she won't feel the gap your silence creates. In other words, you can't create desire out of thin air. There has to be a foundation first. Here's an example. Imagine you've been texting a woman casually for a week. You suddenly stop replying, thinking she'd chase you, but because your interactions lacked depth, humor, or genuine engagement, she doesn't notice the silence. She may even move on without a second thought because there wasn't enough emotional investment to begin with. This is a classic case of silence failing because she simply doesn't care enough yet. So what's the solution? Before relying on silence, focus on building emotional connection and attraction first. Make your interactions memorable, add value to her life, and show confidence, humor, and personality. Once she's invested and interested, silence becomes powerful. It's no longer just ignoring her. It's creating curiosity, longing, and respect. Another key tip: recognize when she truly isn't invested. Sometimes, no matter what you do, silence won't work because she has emotionally checked out. In these cases, continuing to go quiet is pointless and only wastes your energy. Instead, shift your focus to self-improvement, new experiences, and building connections with people who value your presence. The bottom line is clear. Silence only works on someone who has already shown some level of care or interest. If that foundation isn't there, your absence won't spark desire, it will spark indifference. Understanding this principle is essential if you want your strategy to be effective and your efforts to actually create attraction rather than frustration. If you want, I can now expand point 3 into 500 words in the same engaging style so your script keeps building naturally. Do you want me to continue with point 3 yet? Let's expand point 3. Timing is off into a full 500-word detailed explanation for your script, keeping it engaging, story-driven, and actionable. Another major reason your silence isn't working on her is simple but often overlooked. Your timing is off. Silence isn't a magic trick that works in every situation. It's a subtle tool, and like any tool, it has to be used at the right moment. If you go quiet too early, too late, or at the wrong stage of the relationship, it can backfire, leaving her indifferent, confused, or even frustrated. Think about it. If you're just getting to know her and you suddenly disappear, what's she supposed to feel? At this early stage, she doesn't have enough emotional connection, curiosity, or investment in you for your absence to trigger longing. Instead, she's likely to assume you're not interested or that you're unreliable. Early silence can make you seem unavailable or distant in the wrong way. Timing matters because your silence needs context and history to have meaning. Without that, it's just silence. Even in longer-term interactions, timing is crucial. Going silent right after a misunderstanding, argument, or awkward moment can be seen as punishment rather than a strategic pause. She may interpret your quiet as resentment or passive aggression instead of intrigue. In these cases, silence doesn't create attraction, it creates tension. Women are highly sensitive to emotional cues, and if your timing sends the wrong message, your strategy will fail. Another common mistake is waiting too long to go silent. Some men cling too tightly, texting excessively, over-communicating or chasing her for weeks before deciding to try silence. By that point, she may already feel overwhelmed, uninvested, or comfortable in the dynamic you've created. Your sudden quietness then becomes confusing or meaningless because it lacks purpose or momentum. The effect of absence works best when she's already invested enough to notice and care about your presence. So how do you get the timing right? First, pay attention to the relationship stage and her level of interest. If you've established some emotional connection, shared laughs, meaningful conversations, or flirtatious energy, a short pause can create curiosity and longing. Second, consider your interactions leading up to the silence. If things are tense or unclear, it's better to resolve misunderstandings first, then use quiet strategically. Third, don't overthink the duration. Silence doesn't need to last days or weeks to be effective. Sometimes, a well-timed pause of a few hours or a day can have a much stronger effect than extended absence. The key takeaway is this: silence isn't about how long you stay quiet. It's about when and why you do it. Use it too early, too late, or without context, and it will fail. Use it strategically, at the right moment, and it can create curiosity, desire, and appreciation for your presence. Timing is everything, and mastering it is what separates men who get noticed and pursued from those who get ignored. One of the biggest mistakes men make with silence is overusing it. Many guys think that ignoring her for days, weeks, or even months will magically make her chase them. They treat silence like a weapon they can pull out constantly, assuming that the effect only gets stronger with repetition. But the truth is, overusing silence kills attraction instead of creating it. Attraction is built on balance. Mystery and absence work because they are unpredictable and rare. When you're always quiet, always distant, or consistently pulling away, you stop being intriguing. Instead, you become a puzzle she doesn't want to solve, or worse, someone she ignores entirely. Silence only works as a tool when it's used sparingly and strategically, not as a constant state of being. Think about it like this. Imagine you're watching a movie. A brief pause in the storyline can build suspense and make the climax much more satisfying. But if the film kept stopping every few minutes, the audience would get frustrated or bored. The same principle applies to relationships. If you're always withdrawing, your absence no longer signals value or emotional control. It signals unreliability, disinterest, or even emotional unavailability. She may eventually stop caring because your silence no longer has meaning. Another common issue with overusing silence is that men often confuse quantity with quality. They believe that the longer they ignore her, the more powerful the effect. But attraction doesn't operate like a simple formula. Long stretches of silence, without building value, connection, or intrigue in the time you are present, will only make her forget you exist. It's not about how long you go quiet. It's about the impact of your presence and absence combined. Overusing silence also creates a pattern that she can predict. When every interaction follows the same cycle, you reach out, she responds. You disappear, it becomes mechanical. Predictability kills mystery, and without mystery, there's no excitement. Women are naturally drawn to men who are unpredictable and are confident. Intriguing way, not men who repeatedly vanish like clockwork. So, how do you avoid overusing silence? First, use it strategically. Go quiet when it serves a purpose to create curiosity, to demonstrate emotional control, or to give her space to appreciate you. Second, make your presence count. When you're active in the relationship, be engaging, confident, and memorable. Third, avoid long stretches of disappearance without reason. Quality of interaction matters more than the length of absence. The bottom line, Silence is a tool, not a lifestyle. Overuse it, and you'll drive her away. Use it strategically, and you'll make her notice, care, and even miss you. Mastering this balance is essential if you want your quiet moments to actually enhance attraction rather than destroy it. Asterisk. Another major reason your silence isn't working is that you're going quiet without adding any value beforehand. This is a mistake most men make. They think that just ignoring a woman will automatically make her chase them, without first giving her a reason to care. Silence amplifies value. It doesn't create it out of thin air. If you haven't demonstrated charm, personality, or emotional connection before withdrawing, your absence will go unnoticed. Or worse, she'll assume you're simply boring or disinterested. Think about it like this. Imagine two people at a party. One person is vibrant, funny, confident, and engaging, the kind of person everyone notices. The other is quiet, dull, and blends into the background. If the first person suddenly leaves the room, people will notice their absence. But if the second person leaves, nobody cares. Silence works the same way in attraction. Your absence only matters if your presence has already made an impact. This is why men often get frustrated when silence fails. They go quiet for a few days, expecting her to chase, and when she doesn't, they think the strategy is broken. The truth is, you haven't done the groundwork. You need to establish value, make her feel a connection, and leave a memorable impression before withdrawing. Without this foundation, silence won't trigger longing or curiosity. It will just feel like emptiness. Adding value doesn't mean grand gestures or expensive gifts. It can be as simple as having engaging conversations, showing confidence, displaying humor, or demonstrating your independence and goals. When you consistently provide value in your interactions, she associates your presence with something positive and attractive. Then, when you go quiet, it creates curiosity and longing, because she misses the unique energy or emotional connection you bring. Another important point is consistency. Value isn't a one-time thing. If your interactions are inconsistent or forgettable, silence won't work. She needs to feel your worth repeatedly, through meaningful conversations, playful banter, or genuine connection. Only then does your absence create a vacuum she feels compelled to fill. The key takeaway: silence amplifies value, but it doesn't generate it. If you haven't made her care about you while present, your quietness will achieve nothing. Before going silent, ask yourself, have I given her a reason to miss me? Have I made an impact that she will notice when I'm not around? If the answer is no, then your silence is ineffective. In short, if you want your absence to create attraction, you first need to establish presence, value, and connection. Only then will your silence work as a powerful tool to make her notice, think about, and even miss you. Without this, you're just disappearing into the background. Another major reason your silence isn't working is that you're giving her mixed signals. This is one of the most common mistakes men make when trying to use absence as a strategy. You go quiet for a few days hoping she'll chase you, but then you text randomly, respond inconsistently, or act clingy when she doesn't reach out. What does this do? It confuses her, and confusion rarely creates attraction. Mixed signals destroy the effect of silence, because they undermine the very mystery and emotional control you're trying to establish. Think about it from her perspective. She notices your absence and starts wondering why you're quiet. Then, suddenly, you text her casually like nothing happened. Or worse, you overcompensate with attention and effort. This sends conflicting messages. Is he into me or not? Is he playing a game or genuinely distant? Women are naturally sensitive to these emotional cues, and inconsistent behavior usually triggers frustration instead of desire. Attraction thrives on clarity and confidence, not confusion and unpredictability, at least not the kind that makes her question your intentions. Mixed signals also make you appear insecure or reactive. Silence should communicate confidence and self-assurance. When your quietness is punctuated by sporadic messages or attention-seeking behavior, it reveals the opposite, that you're waiting for validation, trying to control her behavior, or unsure of your own value. Women are instinctively drawn to men who are consistent, calm, and in control of their emotions, not men who fluctuate between ignoring them and suddenly seeking attention. Another key point is that mixed signals destroy the psychological effect of absence. The power of silence lies in creating a small vacuum, a gap she feels compelled to notice and fill. If you keep breaking that gap with inconsistent behavior, the vacuum never forms. Without it, she doesn't experience curiosity, longing, or a sense of missing you. Instead, your actions feel erratic, unpredictable, and emotionally chaotic. So, how do you avoid giving mixed signals? First, commit to a clear strategy. If you decide to go silent, do it with purpose, confidence, and consistency. Don't check in randomly or overanalyze her responses. Second, focus on building your own life, hobbies, and goals during this period. When your silence is accompanied by visible growth and independence, it sends a strong, attractive message, without you having to manipulate her. Third, plan the follow-up. Know when and how to reconnect in a way that reinforces your value, rather than undermines it. The key takeaway: silence only works when it's consistent and purposeful. Mixed signals destroy attraction because they replace intrigue with confusion, curiosity with doubt, and respect with frustration. Mastering this principle ensures that your quiet moments communicate strength and confidence, and not desperation or indecision. Another reason your silence isn't working is that she may be seeing it as punishment. This is a subtle but powerful mistake many men make without even realizing it. When you go quiet out of anger, frustration, or to teach her a lesson, your silence stops being a tool of attraction and instead becomes a tool of manipulation. Women are highly intuitive and can sense when absence comes from resentment rather than confidence. When your silence feels like punishment, it rarely sparks curiosity or longing. It sparks resistance, frustration, or emotional withdrawal. Think about it from her perspective. If she senses that you're ignoring her to make her feel guilty, she won't be drawn closer. She'll either become defensive or emotionally check out. She may think, he's upset with me. Should I chase him or just ignore him back? This creates tension and stress rather than attraction. Silence should create intrigue, longing, and respect, not anxiety or guilt. Many men fall into this trap after disagreements or misunderstandings. They assume that ignoring her will show her that she's in the wrong, or that she should work harder to get their attention. While it may feel like a clever move, it backfires because it communicates emotional instability and a lack of maturity. Women are attracted to men who are in control of their emotions, not men who are reactive or vengeful. Silence that feels like punishment is a signal of insecurity, not value. Another reason punishment-style silence fails is that it removes all positive association. Attraction thrives on positive reinforcement, laughter, connection, excitement, and value. When your absence is felt as punishment, all she experiences is a negative emotional state. Negative emotions do not foster attraction. They create distance and resentment. In other words, instead of missing you and feeling curious, she may simply start avoiding interactions altogether. So, how do you prevent your silence from being misinterpreted as punishment? First, check your motivation. Are you going quiet to create attraction? Or are you going quiet because you feel hurt, angry, or frustrated? Only use silence when your goal is to enhance your value and create healthy curiosity, not to make her feel guilty. Second, maintain emotional neutrality. Even if you're upset, focus on self-improvement, hobbies, or productivity during your absence. This communicates confidence and independence instead of manipulation. Third, plan your re-entry. After a purposeful silence, reconnect in a calm, confident, and positive way. This reinforces attraction and keeps your interactions constructive. The key takeaway: silence works when it's purposeful and emotionally controlled, not when it's punitive. If she senses punishment, your quiet moments will repel rather than attract. Master the art of strategic, confident absence, and your silence will create curiosity, desire, and respect, not guilt or frustration. Another major reason your silence isn't working on her is that it's coming from a place of lack of confidence. This is one of the most common mistakes men make when trying to use silence as a strategy. If your quietness stems from insecurity, fear, or uncertainty, it's obvious even if you don't say a word. Women are highly perceptive and can sense whether your silence is a confident move or a desperate reaction. When your absence communicates insecurity rather than control, it doesn't create attraction, it creates doubt and indifference. Think about it from her perspective. If you suddenly stop texting or pull away, and she senses hesitation or fear, behind it, She doesn't feel curiosity. She feels that you are unsure of yourself. She may even lose respect for you, because confidence is one of the most attractive traits a man can display. Silence without confidence looks reactive, not strategic. It gives off the impression that you are trying to manipulate her attention, rather than naturally commanding it through your value and presence. Many men go silent when they feel hurt, rejected, or unsure about where they stand with her. They believe, if I ignore her, she'll notice me. But because their internal mindset is shaky, their silence lacks power. Confidence is what transforms absence into intrigue. Without it, your quiet moments feel hollow, awkward, or even needy. Women are attracted to men who own their emotions, control their actions, and maintain composure, even when they care deeply. Another aspect of confidence is self-assurance in your value. Silence works best when you know that your presence matters, and you don't need her constant attention to validate you. When your quietness is rooted in self-respect rather than insecurity, it naturally creates curiosity and longing. She begins to notice your absence, think about your energy, and even miss the unique value you bring to her life. So, how do you fix lack of confidence before using silence? First, work on your internal mindset. Recognize your self-worth and understand that her reaction doesn't define your value. Second, cultivate independence, hobbies, goals, and social life. The more fulfilled and self-sufficient you are, the more powerful your silence becomes. Third, use silence strategically, not emotionally. Pause communication with a purpose, to enhance intrigue, not to punish, test, or seek validation. The key takeaway: silence without confidence is useless. If your absence is driven by fear, insecurity, or desperation, it won't attract her, it will push her away. Confidence transforms quiet moments into magnetic forces. Women are naturally drawn to men who are calm, composed, and self-assured because their absence signals strength, not neediness. Master your confidence first, and your silence will finally start to work. Another critical reason your silence isn't working is that you have no plan beyond it. Many men think that simply going quiet is enough to make a woman chase them. They believe that ignoring her for a few days or weeks will automatically trigger curiosity, longing, or even guilt. But silence alone is only a temporary tool, not a complete strategy. Without a follow-up plan, your quietness often ends up meaningless, or worse, counterproductive. Think about it like this: silence is like pressing pause in a movie. Pause is effective only if there's a story that continues when you hit play. If you pause indefinitely, the story loses momentum, the audience loses interest, and the emotional impact disappears. Similarly, going silent without a plan leaves her with no reason to feel attraction or longing. She may notice your absence briefly, but eventually, she moves on because your silence hasn't been paired with value, connection, or direction. Another issue is that men often assume silence is enough, and then they panic when she doesn't react immediately. They break the quiet with a message that is either desperate, overly casual, or inconsistent with their previous behavior. This destroys any effect that silence might have had, because it communicates insecurity and lack of strategy. Silence is not a set-it-and-forget-it tool. It only works when it's part of a larger plan designed to create intrigue and attraction. So, what does a plan beyond silence look like? First, define the purpose of your quietness. Are you pausing to allow her to miss your presence? Are you demonstrating independence and self-assurance, or are you stepping back to reassess the dynamic and focus on your own growth? Understanding the why behind your silence ensures that your actions are deliberate, not reactive. Second, have a clear follow-up strategy. Know how and when you'll reconnect. This could be a casual message, a confident text that sparks curiosity, or arranging a meetup that reinforces your value. The follow-up should feel natural, confident, and consistent with the energy you've created through your absence. It's this combination of pause and purposeful return that makes silence powerful. Third, focus on adding value during your absence. Your life shouldn't stop just because you've gone quiet. Show growth, pursue your goals, engage in hobbies, and interact confidently with others. When she sees you thriving independently, your silence becomes magnetic rather than frustrating. It's not about waiting for her attention. It's about creating a sense of desirable presence that she notices when you return. But the key takeaway: silence alone is not a strategy, it's a tool. Without a plan for follow-up, value, and reconnection, your quiet moments will fail to create attraction. Women don't chase emptiness, they chase curiosity, excitement, and genuine connection. Master the art of purposeful silence, paired with a plan beyond it, and you'll finally turn quiet moments into magnetic influence.